Hey, you've probably heard about the big changes in the real estate industry. It's been all over the news. There are big changes in the industry and how specifically real estate commissions work. There's also a lot of misinformation about there. So these are changes that can impact your wallet when you're buying a home. So who pays the realtor fees now? And what does that mean to you? So stick around because understanding these changes will help you from making mistakes and spending money you don't have to spend and having frustrating transactions or not being successful in your goal of buying a house. So real estate practices can vary somewhat from state to state, and even within a state they can vary within regions in the state. So who pays the realtor fees in Virginia, and specifically Northern Virginia? Let's talk first about kind of the traditional commission structure, which is where the seller pays the full commission in the transaction, which means part goes to their agent, the listing agent, and part goes to the buyer's agent. That's the way it's always been for decades, and it was always negotiable. This amount was always negotiable, but the difference is the seller would say up front what that amount was going to be, and that has gone away. The seller is no longer saying up front if they're going to pay the buyer agent, and if they are, what that's going to be. So the model where the seller paid both and it was very upfront was an incentive for agents to cooperate, and it also provided the buyers with clarity about how there wasn't going to be a cost to them for having representation, which is something they really need and want because you want your interests protected. So the key drivers of this change was a lawsuit that came out of Missouri and really pushing for more transparency in commission and clarity in transactions. So what's happening now is some markets are shifting to where buyers are directly paying for their agent services. We are not seeing that in Northern Virginia. We are still seeing where the seller is paying for the buyer's commission in some form. So how does this affect you though overall, this change where you don't know what the seller is doing up front? You may need to plan for the cost of your agent's commission. The importance of budgeting for this new expense in addition to your down payment and the closing costs has a potential impact on affordability of a house, how you're going to go about strategizing on buying a house, making offers, those kind of things. Will it discourage some buyers from using agents? Possibly. But again, we're still seeing sellers pretty much paying this fee, and it's important for buyers to understand why it's important that they have an agent and that is looking after their interests and protecting them. So when you are looking at a buyer's agent, make sure you understand their value and what they're going to do for you. It's not about opening doors, you guys. And for instance, every single buyer, I am still asking the seller to pay my fee. And for the most part, that is exactly what's happening. But you need to make sure that you understand what your agent is doing and what it may cost you or not cost you. So understand what they're doing. If you're thinking about buying a house, you have to think about the costs that are involved. And so this is a potential additional cost that you might have to bear. So if you have more questions about this, call me. My information, my direct phone number and everything is in the information below. I'm happy to talk through this with you. I'm also going to put up another video about kind of when you're thinking about buying a house, not kind of, what do you need? What is the cash you have to have on hand generally without like grants or any of that kind of stuff? What are the fees you need going into a transaction? So happy to talk through anything at any time. I love educating clients, and who pays the realtor's fee is a hot topic right now. So I'm happy to have that conversation.